I got some great footage last year of two bucks fighting, but unfortunately they knocked over my expensive Moultrie feeder. They broke off the feeder motor, they broke off the solar panel, but I had another one in the barn, so I went ahead and replaced it with this one and kept the pieces that were broken. New feeders are not cheap. I think a feeder to replace this feeder, you're looking at around $400, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to try and fix the plastic in this feeder, get a few more years out of it. If it doesn't get knocked over, it should last another decade or so. So it's more stuff that's not put in the landfill, and all I got to do is keep it from leaking because the structure is still together. It's just that where it bolts together, rain could get into the bottom part of the feeder. It's upside down. And if water gets in there, then the corn will get wet, it'll start to rot, and then it won't feed through to the spin plates. So to show you the extent of the damage, and I got this upside down, it broke out a bolt hole here, it broke out one here, and it cracked one over here. And then on the top side, I guess this is the bottom side, it broke that there. And I think you could simply put some flex tape on that, and that's underneath that lip so that wouldn't get water. And here's a couple pieces that we're going to try and glue together. So we're going to use an epoxy. JB Weld has been good to me over the years. And we got some flex tape. And we're going to take a wire brush and clean everything up first. So what this is doing is roughing up this plastic so anything I put there will stick real good. Use some purple power here just to make sure there's no grease or anything where this fits together. And there's no seal that goes here. I may put one little piece of rubber or something around there, but in general I want to clean this out, and I'll wash all this out so there's no chemicals in the corn so it doesn't get to the deer. The key to this working is preparing the site so that it's as clean as possible, so that epoxy has something to stick to, and whatever it sticks to, it's not dirt. That's my working theory anyway. So I've had everything in the sun drying for a while, and now I'm going to try to glue it first before I epoxy it with this Gorilla Glue. So it says it's a waterproof glue and that you apply it on and let it sit for a minute, kind of like an epoxy, and then you put the two pieces together. Now this is just one layer of fix that I'm going to do. I'm also going to put the JB Weld over it. And then I've got another layer I'm going to put over top of that as well. Okay, to put it on both sides and let it sit. They say after you push it together, after the 2-minute wait time, they say it's going to be close to setting time, that it won't move much after that. So you got to make sure you do it precisely. Now I tried it already a few minutes ago. I'm putting on some handles that were coming off the wheelbarrow and also the Baumolite mini skid steer, and it stuck pretty good pretty quick. Okay, that's been a couple minutes. Let's see what happens here. Slide that into place. It's holding pretty good. That'll help a lot. That'll give it a lot more strength than if I just tried to put some JB Weld in that gap, because JB Weld is real thin and tends to run a little bit. So it's probably a good idea to glue it first. This is sloppy, but I don't know how else to do it. I'll just put a whole bunch in there, and then when I squeeze it together, I'll wipe off the excess. It's been a couple minutes, so I'm going to put some where the screwdriver comes out of. Let it clamp together. And put this bucket of weight on top of it. I got some rocks in here. I got some food plot seed. I got an impact wrench. That should be a good weight to have on there. I'm not trying to seal the outside with this glue. I just want that to be what's inside of the actual crack. All right, we'll let that cure. So in typical Piney Grove fashion, projects that should only take a couple hours end up taking all day. But I wanted that glue to cure overnight. I just feel like let that cure and then we'll put the epoxy over top of it and it'll just give it a better chance of lasting a long time. So while that was curing, I sanded down the poles. They had some rust spots in them. One of them's actually been repaired. Let me show you. So this one right here got kinked at one point and I cut out the bad section and I fit in a piece of, I think that's oak. That's an oak branch that I carved down so it would fit in there, just to try and get, you know, more longevity out of it. They're just so expensive and you can't buy replacement legs for them. So when that leg got bent, that would have put one feeder out of service. Once I got them wire wheeled down, then I took some odorless mineral spirits and wiped all the dust off of them. And then I hit them with Rust-Oleum's Rusty Metal Primer. That's a real good primer for rusty metal. It'll let the paint stick. And now I've got various camouflage colors from Rust-Oleum that I can spray on there, or I might spray paint them black, or I may just leave them as they are. But we'll catch back up with this video tomorrow when we epoxy it and put it all back together. I've let that glue dry overnight, and I really like this glue because it's somewhat pliable after it's dry instead of being like hard and crystallized like super glue. Now we're going to be using JB Weld. I hope this is still good. I bought it years ago in a big quantity. It still stays good. It looks like everything's still liquid, and it's a two-part epoxy. You got the resin and you got the hardener. You mix it, you stir it, and you get about 5 minutes to work with it. So equal parts, just going to kind of guess here. And a little goes a long way. This is very self-leveling, so it doesn't glob on or stay chunky, so to speak. It will find all the cracks and crevices and grooves. You just mix it. It starts to activate, changes a little bit of color there. And then you just put it where you want it. It's very runny. It's going to go where it wants to go. So it's not usually a very pretty patch when you use JB Weld. Now, once it's cured, it's really hard. You can shape it then. You can file it. You can sand it. You can do a lot of things with it. But put it here over top of this glue. And this is the underside of the barrel. So all we're trying to do is keep blowing rain from hitting this and going up into the barrel where it was cracked. We're going to put it in there pretty generously and then let it cure. You can see it start to get stringy as it starts to set up. Yeah, that's already hardened. We're going to have to mix up some more. You can mix this up on a piece of cardboard or something, but I just find it's easier if you have a little cap or something like this. Kind of contains it. We're just going to put some over top of this bolt hole, and if we fill in the hole any at all, and we'll just re-drill the hole. Now this is important we get this waterproof, so we're probably going to put flex tape over top of it. But for right now, we just want to get these 3 bolt holes secured. We are JB welded. Well, that's curing. I'm going to paint these poles. They came from the factory as, you know, black. They might have even been gloss black instead of flat. But I'm going to camouflage them a little, and I'll probably put some tiger stripes on the drum itself as well once we get it put together and stood up. We're just going to hit different sections of it and just kind of create a camo pattern. One thing I've learned when camoing stuff is that you think everything needs to be black or brown or something like that, but there's red in nature. So when leaves turn, they turn red. So oddly enough, sometimes you'll mix in some colors you don't think are necessarily camouflage colors just to mix it up. You're just trying to break it up. Like right there, that's already put a shadowy effect with the 2 colors that are on there. Now the light color is what really changes things. It just creates that shadowy effect. The rusty metal primer I put on there is what's protecting it from rust. So I'm not worried about doing like a 100% complete coating. I just want to get some color on here. Mainly to just have it blend in a little bit more instead of just being straight black. JB weld is drying. I'm going to go ahead and just temp install the feeder bottom here. And it's a cam lock feeder, so you just push it on and turn it once this base is installed. Actually, I'm going to put it on tight. I'm not going to temp install it, but just 3 screws. And this is different from the feeder that's on the other one, but it's all Moulrie products, so they're pretty much interchangeable. I just don't even know if Moulrie makes this feeder anymore, and this was like the iconic feeder for them. I'm thinking about how I'm going to put everything together. I think I'm going to put it together upside down. I think I'll turn over the top and then put this on top of that. Then I'm not stressing out any of the joints at all. And also what I can do is I can stagger where it was stressed out before. So where this one was cracked, it was over here where these two broke out. So I can turn that as long as the holes line up, and I don't see why they shouldn't. So that this weak point is opposite of that weak point. That way where it's fixed over here isn't the same as where it's fixed over there. I just really enjoy, I guess, not spending money, number one, but number two, just making things last as long as they can and reducing the amount of things that go in a landfill. So that's in the repair area where I just put that, and I didn't see any flexing of the joint where I filled in the joint with glue and also JB weld. So far it's looking like a success. While everything's drying and curing, let's see if the timer works on this. It's been probably 2 years or more since this has had a battery hooked up to it. These have lasted me pretty long. I charge them at the end of the season before I put them away, and I charge them at the beginning of the season. Well, it came on. All right, it says testing get away, so that plate should spin. Oh, it didn't spin. The motor or something's bad. The battery doesn't have enough power. It says the battery's full. Doggone it. So I got a ton of old batteries here, and this one here said it wouldn't charge, but if I come down here and hit the test, time for 5 seconds before it spins the plate, and it says it's a full battery. That's the frustrating part of deer feeders, is that if they don't fall over and break, then you have battery issues and solar panel issues. But looks like I have one good battery. Out of all these batteries, I'm going to keep charging them until I get one that will work in the other feeder, because I just need 2 batteries for this season, and I guess next year I'll buy 2 new batteries. Everything looks nice and solid, but I'm going to go ahead and put some flex tape over top of this where I glued it right there. It looks like the crack is still showing, or I didn't get glue or the epoxy in there. And if you've never used flex tape, it is the most stickiest substance on earth. And it's the commercial is a leaking fish tank, and it's got a big hole in it, and a guy takes a piece of this and slaps it over the hole while it's pouring water out of it, and it seals it. So that's the way they advertise it, as being that good. I've used it several times in outdoor applications like this. It's not wanting to stick there. I talked about how sticky it was, and that piece isn't wanting to stick too good right there. Let's get another piece. But the Mega Shed roof was leaking where some screws were holding the tin on, and I put some of this over it, and that was probably 3 years ago, and it hasn't leaked since. So it's a good product. It's not too expensive, and I always try to have some on hand. Now that should shed any water trying to go through any cracks here down, but there's a lip inside of here, so it's not like just because water gets underneath here, it's going to get inside. We just want to prevent, as much as possible, water having a chance to get in there. I'm going to do one more thing with tape, and this is just electrical tape, but these legs here are 4 pieces, and they'll come apart. Like when you're trying to move the feeder, you're trying to pick the feeder up all as one piece, and then the legs are on the ground, and then you're stuck there holding the feeder in the air, and it's just a problem. So I have no reason to want these legs to, come apart. And if they do, I can always cut the tape. But I think this will save me a lot of stress when I'm setting the feeder up or if I ever have to move it. I think this is a good idea. And then I'll also tape them to the feeder itself because they can also fall out of the little slot where they go into the feeder barrel. I've got the cart here all loaded. I got corn, I got 2 feeders, and when I was putting the second feeder in, I found out or realized that I had sealed that one because that one was cracked, and I used Marine 5200 on that. And if you don't know what that is the second most stickiest stuff in the world. It's a white adhesive sealant that's used in marine applications. It will seal underwater. And I found that many parts of these feeders weren't put together right or weren't put together tightly. The latches were missing hardware, so I went through everything and got them all squared away. And we've had these for 7 years. They were part of the contract when we bought Piney Grove because the guy where our house is, they had a food plot and the rest of it was all wooded. And so we asked them to leave them there and actually put it in the contract. And I don't know how long they had them before that. So they're 7 years old to us and probably 3 years old to them. So they're at least 10 years old already. Got an 8-foot ladder because I found a 5-foot ladder is not tall enough. And I also found that there's a hole for a set screw here so the leg won't come out. So I think we're all set. So let's go have some fun and put up some feeders. I was talking with my good friend Chad Doss Farms in Oklahoma, and he was sending me some pictures and video of what he's got, where his feeder is and where he wants to put a food plot. And he was asking my advice because I've been plotting for a long time. And basically what I told him is that deer want to go where deer want to go. And what I mean by that is you can have the best area for a food plot, but if there isn't already established trails and a pattern of deer using that area, they're not going to change their patterns just because you put a food plot there. We had 100 acres of woods next to one of our hunting locations on our 1,200 acre hunting lease, and they clear cut it just before the season. And we knew where the deer trails were through those woods. And we could sit in our hunting stands and watch the deer cross the middle of this 100 acre patch that no longer had trees on it and take the most indirect route to get to the food plot rather than just walking straight to it. And they had no reason not to, except that they had decades or centuries of instinct and patterns established, and they were just going to keep walking on the same trails even though it was completely clear cut like a bare field. He was asking about where should he put his blind, and I said, what's your prevailing wind? And he said, if we don't have much wind back here in the woods. I said, there's always a wind or a draft or a thermal, and a deer lives by its nose. That's how it stays alive. And they can not only smell, but they can differentiate between those smells. So they could say, all right, that's, Hunter Bob's body odor, but he's also carrying a Twinkie. If you're trying to draw deer to a feeder or your food plot, you don't want your scent going towards those two areas. So one, establish your food plots and feeders where deer want to be anyway, and it'll just keep them there longer so you have more harvest opportunities. And number two, put your blind downwind of the feeder and the plot in the most common wind for your hunting season. Now, winds can change and be variable. So there's many times you can't even hunt a location because the wind isn't right that weekend. So you might have to wait the next weekend. Because the last thing you want to do is educate your deer. As I roll up on this food plot, it kind of makes me sad because it's growing so well, but here in the areas where it gets a lot of sun, it's dry. We got sandy soil and it doesn't hold moisture, and they're shriveling up. All these fresh buckwheats are shriveling up. Now there's still plenty over there, but this is a very small plot. They figure 1 acre per deer. So if you have 10 deer that frequent your area, if you want to give them everything they need, you need 10 acres of food plot. So this is more of a harvest plot or a plot that we can put a camera on and just kind of assess our herd because they like to come through here. But for the first time ever, we're going to have a feeder at that end. I guess I'll go ahead and stand it up instead of putting the feeder on now, because the feeder motor on now, because it's already got the battery in it and I don't want to tip the battery upside down. When you're moving the feeder, you'll pick it up from here, and that's when the legs fall off. And this one still can because it's not totally secure. Got an awesome paint job on it, doesn't it? a few years ago when I was in a little bit better shape, but I had 100 pounds of feed in here, and I picked it up and I was carrying it. I don't know how I did it, but I had it picked up and I was carrying it and the legs fell off, and Deb was trying to run around and get the legs back on it so I could put it down because it was crushing me. See, right there. That's how the legs come off, just like that. That's how important the tape is. So this was a great design that Moulrie came up with. It's a toolless feeder, so if you have your base on here and the feeder were to break off, or raccoons bite it off, or it just stopped working, you can put your new one on real quick. It's got cam locks. Slide it in there and turn it. It's also got built-in predator guards, and one of my cam locks is cracked on here. I think this one fell as well at some point, but that cam lock right there is cracked. It's no big deal, it'll hold the feeder, but probably should run a band of tape or a tie strap around there. Chad sent me a video and he had 8 raccoons, I think, under his feeder, and he had one up here hanging onto it, and I think he added leg lengths to his feeder so that they get it a little higher, but he had one raccoon that could climb it. All right, I think I got it right. It opens that way, so I can put the ladder on this side to fill it. I know that the feeder motor works. I just, not real confident in the battery. Now the fun part, 50-pound bags up the ladder. And this is local corn from a farm about 6-7 miles away. So this is fresh and hasn't been stored over the summer. Well, once again, I've made the mistake of only buying 3 bags per feeder, thinking they're 150-pound feeders, but they're 200-pound feeders. So I put 200 pounds in this one and I'll get more feed for the other one. Now let's see what she does. All right, battery life is still good. That's how much it'll put out, and we'll adjust that. It says it's got 66 days of feed remaining. So we're all set. We are good for 66 days, I think. But that's going to wrap up today's video. We appreciate you coming along on videos like this where we're not necessarily tractoring, but it's all part of that country life, that country living, and having a homestead, and not only caring for the land, but caring for the animals on the land. There's a good chance I'm going to put out 500 pounds of corn this season and still not shoot a deer. I've never taken a deer on this property. I've hunted a little bit, not extensively. So it's not all about the hunt and the harvest. It's about taking care of the animals that use your land. Squirrels are going to eat this. Rabbits are going to eat this. And I don't apologize for hunting, not one bit. I'm just saying that we want to not only be good stewards of our property, but good stewards of the wild animals on our property. But that's going to wrap it up, folks. Hopefully you guys that hunt and enjoy the great outdoors are out there enjoying it and getting ready for the upcoming season. But until next time, y'all take care out there. And remember, life's short. I don't have a tractor to point to, but tractor hard. And check out these 2 videos right here. They're pretty cool too. We'll catch you on the next one, guys. Take care.